Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. At least 2,300 people were killed and more than 10,000 injured by an earthquake that struck southeastern Turkey and northern Syria this morning. Shocks of magnitude 7.8 in Turkey alone led to the destruction of more than 1,700 buildings. The magnitude 7.8 earthquake brought down whole apartment blocks in Turkish cities and piled more devastation on millions of Syrians displaced by years of war. There are 12 families trapped here and no one managed to get out. They are all inside here. So far no one has come here to see where people are. There is no civil defence. We've been working with our hands since 3 a.m. The second family, the ceiling had directly fallen on them. The father and his 1.5-year-old daughter's condition is nearly stable. The father is feared to have broken his back. His young daughter is fine. His pregnant wife, his 5-year-old daughter and his 4-year-old son have all been killed. Reuters footage showed the widespread destruction at the epicenter of the earthquake, Kahramanmaraş city in Turkey, where people rushed to reach survivors under the collapsed buildings. The worst tremor to strike Turkey this century, it came before sunrise in harsh weather and was followed in the early afternoon by another large quake of magnitude 7.7. The second quake was big enough to bring down more buildings and, like the first, was felt across the region, endangering rescuers struggling to pull casualties from the rubble. It was not immediately clear how much damage had been done by the second earthquake, as rescue workers continued to struggle to pull casualties from the rubble in bitter weather. We took over in the doorways, but the intensity was too high. As soon as the shaking slowed down, we threw ourselves outside. By dawn, we started looking for our relatives. We have losses and there are several people that we still can't reach. At the moment, 2 voices are coming from the rubble. Search and rescue teams are working. We are in immense pain. In Turkey, the death toll stood at 1,541. Vice President Fuat Oktay said at least 928 people were killed in Syria, according to figures from the Damascus government and rescue workers in the northwestern region controlled by insurgents. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan has said that 45 countries have offered help with search and rescue efforts, but he could not predict how much the death toll would rise as rescue efforts continued. We have received several calls for international aid to our country. Offers of assistance from 45 countries, including NATO and the European Union, have reached us. Poor internet connections and damaged roads between some of the worst-hit cities in Turkey's south, home to millions of people, hindered efforts to assess and address the impact. Temperatures in some areas were expected to fall to near freezing overnight, worsening conditions for people trapped under rubble or left homeless. Rain was falling on Monday after snowstorms swept the country at the weekend. It is already the highest death toll from an earthquake in Turkey since 1999, when a tremor of similar magnitude devastated the heavily populated eastern Marmara Sea region near Istanbul, killing more than 17,000. A group of Polish firefighters will fly to Turkey as part of the international assistance. It will include 76 rescuers and 8 dogs specialised in rubble work. The rescuers will come from 4 search and rescue groups from Łódź, Warsaw, Gdansk and Nowy Sącz.
Minister Kamiński gave permission to form a group and provide assistance to Turkey through international and European Union organizations. We reported this aid. It was accepted. In front of you is a group of 76 firefighters, several medics from the humanitarian medical team, who together with 8 dogs will fly to Turkey to save the lives of people who are trapped under the rubble there. Very efficient operation of the State Fire Department. Very good organization of the rescue group. We will fly out, ladies and gentlemen, to save people. I would like to say that the first trip of firefighters of the State Fire Service in history was in 1999, and also specifically to Turkey. Today the story has come full circle. Today we are going to Turkey once again to rescue. We will go with the best that we have. We are one of the best search and rescue groups in the world. We have some of the best dogs. We have great equipment. 20 tons of this equipment is flying with us to Turkey. We are the only ones landing at the very epicenter, at an airport that will be as close as possible to the epicenter of the incident. We are one of the groups. Not many heavy groups have signed up, but we are one of the groups flying there. Ladies and gentlemen, we can be proud of the people who are standing here. They will surely represent us excellently and with dignity, and will give everything of themselves to save as many people as possible.
Day 348 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The Russians are intensively training, mobilized reserves and transporting more and more forces and military equipment to the occupied Luhansk region, as well as building defensive fortifications. According to Ukrainian intelligence, they need 2 more weeks to move them to the front. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has hinted that the attack could occur on the anniversary of Russian aggression. the 24th of February. There are already many reports that the invaders want to do something symbolic in February. The Russians will want to take revenge for last year's defeats. We are seeing this increased pressure in various frontline areas. Things are very tough in the Donetsk region. There is fierce fighting. But no matter how difficult it is and how strong the pressure is, we must endure. In an interview with Reuters agency, the head of the Servant of the People grouping, David Arakamia, announced that the duties of Ukraine's current defense minister will be taken over by military intelligence chief. As recently as yesterday, Alexei Reznikov drew attention to a possible Russian offensive during a press conference. Nevertheless, we expect a possible Russian offensive in February. The attack may take place on the anniversary. It only makes sense from the point of view of symbolism. It is not logical from the military point of view, because not all their resources are ready, but they will do it anyway. Reznikov's departure will take place amid a scandal over the embezzlement of funds for army food allegedly taking place in the Defense Ministry. A motion for Reznikov's resignation is expected to be voted on at the next session of the Ukrainian parliament. It is the custom that if someone is a minister and something bad happens in his ministry, then the minister is somehow held responsible. On the eve of a possible Russian offensive, Ukraine is still awaiting more than 120 tanks to be received as part of an armoured coalition of 12 countries. Ukrainian Army Commander-in-Chief General Zaluzhny said that they expect a major Russian strike in January or February, at the latest in March. Americans take this kind of information seriously. The United States Department of Transportation has announced a dispatch of more than 60 Bradley tanks to Ukraine as part of a military aid package worth nearly $3 billion. Canada's defense minister, on the other hand, reported on social media that the first Leopard tank had already landed in Poland. The first Canadian Leopard 2 main battle tank that we've donated to Ukraine has now arrived in Poland. Alongside our allies, we'll soon be training the armed forces of Ukraine in the use of this equipment. Canada will continue to stand with Ukraine. Aid for Ukraine is flying in and flowing from all over the world. A standing review conference focusing on support for Ukraine was held in Warsaw today. It is not enough to defeat Russia. It is necessary to build a world in which Russian imperialism and colonialism, Russian domination, will find no place for themselves. Even a Ukrainian David can stand up to a Russian Goliath. Meanwhile, news circulated yesterday that Pope Francis wants to meet President Zelensky and war criminal Vladimir Putin. I am open to meeting both presidents from Russia and Ukraine. The reason I haven't gone to Kiev yet is that it's not possible to go to Moscow at the moment. On the front lines, fierce fighting for Bakhmut continues. The head of local authorities reported that yesterday's shelling had left one person dead and one person wounded. Deputy Foreign Minister Arkadiusz Mularczyk has completed a week-long visit to the United States. He spoke with representatives of the State Department, Congress and the United Nations about war reparations and the war in Ukraine. He also met representatives of the American Polish community. Małgorzata Schulz has more.
Minister Arkadiusz Mularczyk was on a visit to the U.S. Minister Mularczyk met with representatives of the Polish community in Washington, New York, and Chicago. During his visit, the minister said he was counting on the support of the Polish community to promote the report prepared under the editorship of Professor Konrad Wnenk and to convince American politicians to support Poland's efforts to seek reparations from Germany. Both Polish-American organizations and representatives of the Polish-American community, individuals, can address inquiries, various kinds of letters, can call their congressmen, senators, in order to really create a certain wave, a critical mass which will reach American decision-makers with this information. The Polish diaspora is part of the Polish nation, and among the last two immigrant generations, there is hardly a person who has not been affected by the wartime Gehenna. My parents worked. My dad was an engineer, so we were not poor, and we left as we stood. Nothing was allowed to be taken away. Everything had to be left behind, and whatever people had on them, like a watch on their wrist or some kind of necklace around a woman's neck, it was all ripped off by the Germans, taken off by them, and if someone was late with taking it off, God forbid the strap got jammed, they shot them right on the spot. The visit by Minister Mularczyk, who is also the chairman of the parliamentary team for estimating the amount of reparations owed to Poland by Germany for the damage caused during World War II, confirmed that the state of knowledge about the human and economic losses suffered by Poland is inadequate in the U.S. Very substantive questions were raised, but in general, the minister presented a condensed version of the report. A great deal was said from the Polish community, from representatives such as members of Solidarity. They thank you for this really hard work. The Polish-American Society understands how important the issue of reparations from Germany is for Poland. There are many Polish organizations in the U.S., including those bringing together veterans who fought during World War II, many of whom could not return to a Poland destroyed by the Germans. From Los Angeles for TV Republika, Małgorzata Schulz.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.